It's another day on the Trump Show. Just another day on the Trump Show. Another day in hell. Workshopping the theme song there, so let me know what you think of that. But it's taken me about a week to put together this video because I had to plow through all of the videos and evidence and memes and tweets. And I'm not even sure it's relevant anymore. It's taken me over a week to make this video because I had to plow through all of the videos and evidence and memes and tweets. And I'm not even sure if it's relevant anymore with how fast the news cycle churns. This clown show administration has already done a dozen more things egregious and dangerous since last Saturday. Remember the good old days when Trump and everyone around him elevated him to the status of Jesus, and the vice president was Twitter fighting with the Pope? Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago. I'm so tired of living in unprecedented times. Are we tired of winning yet? But we can't give in to the banality. Everything goes from scary and evil, and then it goes stupid and boring. It's just so hard to care anymore. Was the White House Correspondents' Dinner staged or not? You know, there's levels to that. I mean, was it staged? Did they plan the whole thing? Did they put that guy up to doing that? Was it, did they just take the ball and run with it when the situation presented itself? Were some of the people in on it and everybody else was just reacting naturally? It matters so little that it was staged that I was just going to make a TikTok about it. I don't do TikTok. I call shorts TikToks. That's just kind of a rebranding thing. It's just easier to say TikTok than shorts because a lot of people don't know what shorts are. But so much has come out. I wanted to cover some of the funny stuff, some of the suspicious stuff, some of the sneaky stuff, and some of the evil stuff about this whole situation. First thing I'd like to say is this is not a party that I would ever want to attend. Any chance you could run into Pete Kegsbreath or Kash Patel, or turn around and run into RFK or Shady Vance, or any number of these people are just not the people that I would ever want to hang out with. But within minutes of the situation going down, there was people all over the internet going, well, that was staged. That was clearly staged. Which, can you blame them? It's on the tail end of the same news cycle that includes all of the MAGA people coming out saying that the Butler assassination attempt was staged. And there's a lot of evidence leaning towards that, too. And every member of this administration lies about everything. There's misinformation and disinformation. They say everything that they don't like is either a hoax or fake news or rigged or staged. And you got to remember back, the whole spark of the Trump era started with QAnon and all of the ridiculous conspiracy theories that came out about that. And they lie about everything, even things that are so easily fact-checkable. Just the other day, he said that gas prices are going down. Gas prices are definitely going down. Well, you know, we all fill up our gas tank every week. And we clearly see that it's not. So what is the point of lying about things that can be easily proven? Well, it's to sow doubt and cast uncertainty and make you question reality. It makes you feel crazy if you're paying attention to what's going on. And some of the people will believe it because they won't dig any deeper. So it's just pure gaslighting on both sides on a global scale. But this time I think Big Daddy's losing control of the narrative. Just like in Butler, the ear thing, and he just healed magically. Cartilage doesn't heal like that. You've seen people that have gotten shot in the ear, gotten their ear bit off, and it just doesn't heal like that. Plus, he's supposedly on a massive amount of blood thinners and aspirin that he would have just been bleeding profusely. And if it clipped the ear, he would have been bleeding down the backside of his ear. And it clearly was just all on the front part of his face here. The ear itself is just a smoking gun. Then there's the fact of the kid that got killed, surprisingly. And people were saying, hey, there's somebody on that roof over there. Why was that roof not set up with somebody? It's just, you see the map of the place and you see where the shooters, the snipers were set up. And why wouldn't they have set up on that roof? It's like they just set it up for there. How do you get a ladder in there to get up on that roof? Just none of it adds up. And then that photo shoot, when you see the video of the Secret Service ushering the camera people around to the perfect place to take the picture at the perfect time when he finally stands up, and the Secret Service let him poke his head up and go fight, 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 just at the right time for that flag to be lowered into place. And then after they got all their pictures, he ushers them out, the flag goes back up, they take him off stage. It blows my mind how obvious that was. Because when I saw that picture for the first time, I thought, well, he just won. He just won the presidency. That picture right there. And they had merch ready the next day after that. So was it staged or not? Who knows? But it's just pretty convenient. And they were just quick to capitalize on the moment, whether it was or not. So it doesn't even really matter whether it was. The only hole in the Butler theory is, what kind of psychopath would let himself get shot at? Maybe they told him that they were going to be shooting and maybe not in his direction, but he had to be in on it to do the squib on his ear. I mean, that's the only hole in the story that I just can't figure out. But now we know he's been being left out of important cabinet meetings to make certain decisions. So maybe it was a plan that he wasn't entirely in on. Like I said, he had to have known about that. It was like, I don't know. It's just weird. But to me, the most damning evidence about the Butler incident is that he never talks about it. This guy talks about everything that bothers him or strokes his ego. He's been bitching about Rosie O'Donnell for 30 years, 20 years at least. He's been talking about, they just indicted James Comey about something that happened years ago. He can't stop talking about Obama and Biden and everybody that's caused him a bit of controversy over the years. He can't stop talking about it. That's why I don't believe that aliens are real, because there's no way that he wouldn't be able to keep from letting that out at a press conference. I'm not supposed to talk about it, but guess what? I know about something. But these guys are masters at manipulating the perception and the spectacle. And So whether it was staged or not, this meme-based administration takes full advantage of every situation that's presented to them. So leading up to the event, I was just constantly thinking about what is going to be said, how are they going to, what's the vibes going to be like in the room, and all of that stuff. And what happened at the Correspondents' Dinner was better for content creation for the next week than anything that would have been said on that stage that night. People would have taken the things that he said. Everybody's pointing to the Caroline Levitt thing where she says there's going to be shots fired tonight, and that's not the thing that I'm concerned about that little speech. Is she's laughing and it's all fun and games, and Trump's going to be funny, and he's got some zingers for the. It was going to be the same speech he's been doing for the last 2 years. Everything is about retribution and getting even with people, and there's no way it was going to be anything any different than what he's been talking about at rallies for the last 2, 3, 5 years. But I still would like to know what kind of vile stuff he was going to say. But ultimately, it doesn't matter what happened, because nothing happened. There was a guy that ran through the security doors, but he was nowhere close to the president. If this kind of incident would have happened in a school, they wouldn't have even interrupted classes. Did we get 4 days of a news cycle out of the 15 times that this exact same thing happened to President Obama? Did the Democrats condemn the whole of the right-wing party for these incidences? I'm sure most of you didn't even know that Obama had 15 assassination attempts in his presidency. I didn't, because they're nothing. They're meaningless. This is a non-issue. And so every day we've had new angles. All the content creators are putting out video after video of all the new stuff, because you just post first. That's all that matters. Post first, whether you have any information or not. Just like newscasters that go on the air and go, we know nothing yet. We know nothing yet. Then why are you live on the news if you know nothing yet? Wait until you know something and then come tell us. But that's how it works. There's the shooter was dead, and then he was not dead, and there was shots fired, and then there wasn't shots fired, and there was shots fired, but it wasn't the guy. It was friendly fire. The guy got hit in his vest, but he wasn't hurt. I mean, the Secret Service was hit in the chest, but he had his vest on, so he wasn't hurt. And then they said it was friendly fire that he was hit by, and it was a little suspicious that he decided to accept the invitation this time, even though he's avoided the White House Correspondents' Dinner since Obama embarrassed him and mocked him at the 2011 Correspondents' Dinner 5 years before he ever ran for presidency. But he wanted to come this time for some reason. Another funny one that I thought was funny, of course, was they said, oh, it's like time travel, because there was Google search in Iran for the full name of the shooter, Cole Thomas Allen, 10 hours before the event even happened. Iran is 10 hours ahead of us, or behind us, whichever way that works, ahead of us. So it was happening at the same time, but the timestamp will say 10 hours earlier, because that was the time it was over there. You fucking meat-headed morons. Another thing I want to mention is that in a room full of journalists Everybody got the story wrong. They were first-hand observers, and everybody got all of the details wrong right out of the gate. But I'm sure only right-leaning journalists were invited, so that doesn't surprise me that much. But they were taking selfies like they were at Coachella, and five-finger discounting the wine and champagne that was on the tables. There was some funny videos of the women hoarding the wine and stuff. But then they go on their TV show the next day and talking about the trauma and the PTSD and living through such a traumatic event. But the pivot they were able to make instantly was spectacular. Like instantly, all of the MAGA Twitter bots and real people that might as well be bots, instantly, that's why we need the ballroom. That's ballroom. That's why we need the ballroom. Ashley St. Clair, ex-Elon baby mama, came out and said that she used to be in one of those group chats, and it's called coordinated messaging, and they send out a thing that says, you get so much money for a post, and everybody say that we need the ballroom, and that's why that happened. Next, we had them saying the Democrats are responsible for this because they had the inflamed rhetoric calling Trump a fascist, and inflamed, heated rhetoric is this guy's brand. Look at what happened when Robert Mueller died. Good, I'm glad he's dead. What he said about Rob Reiner, one of the most acclaimed and loved directors in Hollywood, and he said, oh, he must have died of TDS. And can you say anything empathetic or sympathetic? Does anything decent ever come out of his tiny, tiny brain? Just think of all of the things. Knock the crap out of them. The enemy within. It just goes on and on and on. All of the things. So don't talk about inflamed rhetoric. And despite what they like to preach on all of the right-leaning news channels, statistics prove that most political violence comes from the right. So, yeah, you got one. It's just interesting how all of the violence against the left has been by right-leaning wackos, and all of the violence against the right has been by right-leaning wackos that are either disgruntled by MAGA or not happy that they're not fucking racist enough or something. But yeah, it's almost always right-leaning people. But you are bound to get one from the left eventually, because 70% of this country hates that man. And 90% of the world hates that man. So let's talk about the manifesto. A lot of people are saying it's a little too perfect and looks like somebody wrote it for him. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They described it as having anti-Christian language, and it's the exact opposite. He talks about turning the other cheek and standing up for other people that are disenfranchised. There's other very blatant Christian rhetoric in the manifesto, but they had to say that because they had to evoke the National Presidential Security Memorandum, ordering officials to investigate and prosecute Antifa ideology, which the memorandum says, quote, common threads animating this violent conduct include anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, and anti-Christianity. and support for the overthrow of the United States government, extremism on migration, race, and gender, and hostility towards those who hold traditional American values on family, religion, and morality. That gives them a vague blank check to go after all sorts of people with leftist ideologies. If you say, well, I'm Muslim, so I don't believe that, that's anti-Christian. If you happen to be a homosexual, well, that's anti-family values. You could go to jail for domestic terrorism now. So yeah, anyway, this guy didn't even get close to the president or any of the cabinet members or anywhere near the floor where they were on. But he won in one way, because in the manifesto he says he can't support, whatever, paraphrasing, he can't support a pedophile, a rapist, and a traitor. And in an interview the next day with Norah O'Donnell, she read that to him, and he got a little incensed about it. And we've got the clip now forever of the president saying, I'm not a pedophile. Well, you know the rules. If you're explaining, you're losing. And if you have to come out and say, I'm not a pedophile, I didn't rape anybody, it's all right there. And she had the best, it was like she planned it that way. She goes, so you think he's referring to you? Like you didn't, oh, I never was even insinuating that. I don't know. The way it's worded, it could be anybody. Usually if you feel attacked, then that means the attack was justified, right? Another weird thing that he said in that interview was, the Secret Service came through the door and they were strong, really attractive law enforcement. And he just felt safe. He felt so safe with those really attractive law enforcement. Aww. All right, last one from the manifesto. I love it that he said all of the cabinet, the president and all of the cabinet, except for Kash Patel. What does that mean? Like, he's such a sniveling little weasel that he's not even worth assassinating. Moving on, let's talk about the line of succession. If something happens, you got to have a designated survivor. And the line of succession is president, vice president. And we had this conversation the other day, and I had to look it up. And I found out that the line of succession, I thought, was president, vice president, speaker of the House, and then secretary of state. But in there before the secretary of state is the president of the proletariat of the Senate or something, and that person was not there. That would have been Chuck Grassley. So had a bomb went off, this room had the president and the vice president and 13 out of the 15 members of his cabinet, and Chuck Grassley would be president. This guy's like 180 years old. He makes Chuck Schumer look like a spry teenager. They grabbed Vance before they grabbed the president, because I guess they said he's younger and he could just jump up and run. And they tried to get the president up, and he moves so fucking slow because he's old and decrepit now. And then immediately he dropped him on his face, he face planted. And of course I didn't fall down. They put me on the ground and blah, blah, blah. But you face planted, you fucking piece of shit. Another one was when they grabbed RFK and dragged him off and just left his wife, Cheryl Hines, just to tag along. And of course, she was the Larry David's wife on Curb Your Enthusiasm for years and years. So somebody took that clip and put the music from Curb Your Enthusiasm on it. It's pretty funny. And Stephen Bitch Miller, I hate that guy with every fiber of my being. And I loved seeing the picture at first. It looked like he was hiding behind, cowering behind his pregnant wife. But in actuality, when you see the whole clip, I got it. He was protecting her, and Secret Service says she goes first because the drama was behind him. So like, she was first. So he really was protecting her and their Elon's baby that she's carrying. So I gotta give credit where it's due. And once again, Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, just sitting there looking lost and crazy-eyed, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what. You're really showing your leadership for the FBI. Go find out. Go talk to somebody. Be in charge. And the best part is that he found his girlfriend that he's been simping over. He's been flying her around on taxpayer money on his private jet that he's been provided to bop around, and with her, she was in the bathroom holding hands with some other guy that was protecting her. Dana White was there for some reason because this has to do with the UFC. Why was he invited? He was like, oh, this was fucking awesome. Fucking meathead. And apparently they canceled the comedian that they were supposed to have. This dinner always has a comedian that does a speech and it's funny and it makes fun of everybody and yada, yada, yada. And it was, as far as I know, it was Amber Ruffin, who's on the writer on Seth Meyers' show. She's also on that new show on CNN with Roy Wood. And she's left-leaning, so there's no way they were going to let her do it. So they've got a mentalist. It looks like Oz, but his name's Oz Perlman. And he's an Israeli mentalist, which, of course, he was Israeli. I don't know what that means, but it just is on brand, I guess. But he's a mentalist. You can't put this on your reel, dude, because you didn't see that coming. You didn't see all that coming. You looked as surprised as everybody else when them people came through when the cops busted through the door. Not a good look for a mentalist. But the best meme of all was when everybody's crouching down below their tables and of course they're peeking up over the table. You got your most important part like exposed. Like what do you think crouching behind the table is supposed to do? They're all hiding under their tables, and there's that one guy sitting over in the corner just keeps eating his salad. That's kind of where I am now and where I would have been if I was in that place. It's just whatever. We just don't care about these spectacles anymore. There was, like I said, some funny stuff that happened and some spooky like conspiracy stuff. Oh, look, see, she said shots fired and blah blah blah, and then there was shots fired. Oh my God, because that's not a common phrase that everybody uses when they're talking about verbally attacking somebody or whatever. It just doesn't matter anymore. But it matters that it doesn't matter because, like I said, they're trying to pivot. They're trying to pivot and say the ballroom. We need the ballroom. See this? By the next day, there was legislation. Let's get this ballroom built. Well, they ain't going to help that thing because that's not Trump's event. He even said in the press conference, oh, we're going to try to reschedule for like a month from now and blah. It's not your event to reschedule. And besides all the ballroom stuff, they just use this chaos as distractions for, like they just did that whole thing with the Southern Poverty Law Center and all the gerrymandering. They just passed the gerrymandering thing in Louisiana. And of course, we can't forget about the Jeffrey files. We're all still concerned about that. We all still need to see some people indicted on that situation. They're trying to get Jimmy Kimmel fired for saying Melania looks like a widow in waiting, or had the glow of a widow in waiting, or whatever it was. But that show, that was 3 days before. He's not inciting any kind of, it just, So, it just doesn't matter. And it matters that it doesn't matter. The last part of this is just, I was trying to paraphrase some stuff that one of the content creators that I love to listen to because she's so smart, Leeja Miller, Leeja Miller. And she's a lawyer from Minneapolis, and she covers all of this new stuff, and she's way smarter than I am. So I wrote down a few of the things. I'm going to quote her and paraphrase some of the stuff, but she's the main one. There was some other creators that I took some stuff from on videos that I watched over the last week, but she's the main one. And it says, the idea that the dinner shooting was a hoax is underpinned by grains of truth that the entire regime is a dog and pony show, and the data that the government produces is no longer reliable. It's being shoved down our throats against our will that at this point it's not irrational or crazy or unfounded to question everything coming out of this regime, because one thing the right-wing nuts are really good at is seeing these conspiracies and the grains of truth that they represent, acknowledging that the truth and acknowledging that truth, and then exploiting the people who believe in the conspiracies for their own personal gain. These people are really skilled at PR, and because they have no conscience. It's unreasonable for not at least considering the fact that any or all of these things being staged or not is not unlikely. Now, could all of these instances just be explained by absolutely insane incompetence, a divided country, or that these idiots doing their absolute best just to exploit situations that have fallen into their lap? That's what I said earlier. These are the most incompetent people objectively to have ever lived, because honestly, a great argument, that's why they might not be conspiracies. You know, conspiracies usually require at least a couple of functioning brain cells. And if we look at it through Hyland's razor, you should never attribute to malice what can be adequately explained by stupidity. Well, that pretty much sums it all up, doesn't it? Anyway, that's all the stuff I wanted to say about the White House Correspondents' Dinner and whether it was staged or not. Doesn't matter, and it matters that it doesn't matter. So, I've got one other political video to make, and then I'm checking out again. It's all going to be music and pop culture, I promise, from here on out. If you made it this far, my fumbling through those quotes and just half quotes and yada yada yada, I appreciate you making it this far. I imagine most people won't. And like I keep saying, YouTube's in a real weird place right now. I don't know who my audience is. Some videos are only getting 2 or 5 views anyway, so this will be the view for the future. Anybody that wants to come back, watch this from the future. And I said, I doubt if anybody ever even makes it this far. So I apologize that it's so long, but I don't know. I appreciate you being here anyway. And I'll see you on the next one. I love you.